Fleetcare Super Touring Championship at AA Kailami on July 8 produced drama on and off the circuit. Minolta Toyota Camry driver Mike White, in his last outing before starting a two-race suspension, was in the wars again. For his part in a clash with Chris Aberdeen's Rothman's Audi Quattro, the unfortunate White picked up a fine from Super Touring clerk of the course, Steve Harding. Needing just 11 points to clinch the 1995 Super Touring Championship, Mike Briggs hit a patch of oil in the Opel Vectra and slid off the circuit in spectacular fashion at the Haviline sweep. Briggs ended his race up against the tyre barrier and was almost sideswiped by Janil de Villiers in the BP Nissan Sentra. Victory in round 15 went to Dion Joubert in the BMW Enviro car ahead of Grant McCleary in the second Opel Vectra. Round 16 got off to a dramatic start with Janil de Villiers spinning out at the total curves. At the front of the field, the race soon developed into another battle between the factory Opel Racing Vectra and BMW Envirocar teams. With his Opel Vectra repaired in time for round 16, championship leader Mike Briggs was soon back in the thick of the battle for the lead. For Mike White, there was more drama as he tangled with the BP Nissan Sentra of Nick Duval in the total curves. But with his 10th win of the season, Mike Briggs moved to within 3 points of clinching the AA Fleetcare Super Touring Championship. Put on your helmets and fasten your seatbelts because it's time for the action-packed AA Fleetcare Super Touring Championship. 6 manufacturers and some of the best drivers in the world clash head-on in a formula which has taken motor racing by storm. The AA Fleetcare Super Touring Championship, Africa's most exciting racing formula. Mike Briggs went to round 17 and 18 of the AA Fleetcare Series, needing only 3 points to clinch the championship. Dion Joubert had moved to within 6 points of Grant McCleary in second place, with Duncan Voss also closing in on Kersey Swanepoel in the Class B championship race.
This weekend, it's for real. I really have to wrap it up. It's quite easy. I think we've said that before, but, you know, as long as I keep everything together, the car's really good. I shouldn't have a problem. I just got to start at trouble, score a few points, and we've got the championship wrapped up. But the interesting thing is that it's just becoming more and more difficult as we're getting further into the championship. So Saturday, it's the best time to do it.
The AA Fleetcare Super Touring teams arrived at the historic Grand Prix circuit in East London against a background of possible controversy. The issue at stake was an FIA recommendation that rear-wheel drive BMW entries throughout the world be allowed to run with a reduced weight penalty.
You know that the BM is penalized 50 kilograms over the front-wheel drive cars, and as a result of the performance thus far, the FIA has decided to recommend that the various controlling bodies world over should introduce the reduction with immediate effect. However, it was only a recommendation, and that of course caused a problem in that we as the Touring Car Association members then had to sit and decide on that, and BMW being the only rear-wheel drive car, it was quite obvious for us that it's not going to be easy. But I think in the end, sense prevailed in that we decided that in future we will religiously follow any recommendation of the FIA.
Back in the Super Touring fold at East London was German driver Sabine Reck, having her first outing since breaking a leg in an accident in Cape Town in May.
You know, after the operation, first I was 1 week in hospital, and then I walked 6 weeks on crutches, and I tell you, I was down. I started with a bicycle at home in Cologne. It's no mountains in Cologne, so I started a little bit with bicycle, but I was tired after 500 meters, so I saw that I have to work very hard. And with my knee, it was broken now, it is fixed with 2 5-centimeter long screws, and it hurts all the time. But now I have to go on a stepper, and because I can't go jogging or stuff like that, only bicycle, and I can make my arms stronger, but I think I will be fit for the next race.
With regular Toyota driver Mike White suspended for 2 races, former Grand Prix driver Julian Bailey was recruited as White's replacement.
To say it's challenging is the right word, I think, especially this corner, in the first corner after the start-finish, which is almost flat. Some people are taking it flat, which is slightly lifting in the Camry at the moment, but it's a hell of a challenge, and, you know, it's a circuit with a lot of history, you know, with Jim Clark winning the World Championship. I've heard a lot about it, and now I'm here, I can tell a few people a few stories about it, but no, it's very challenging.
The first official qualifying session was only a few minutes old when the notorious Potter's Pass at the end of the pit straight claimed another victim. Sean van der Linde rolled at Potter's during unofficial practice, and Janil de Villiers went off in the first qualifying session in the BP Nissan Sentra and was soon to be joined by Anthony Taylor in the Castrol Toyota Camry. There were problems also for Nick de Waal in the second BP Nissan, but he chose a safer spot in Cox Corner to spin off in qualifying. The South African Touring Car Association has adopted the British system of a separate qualifying session for each round of the AA Fleetcare series. And in the high temperatures in the early session, the Sassel Ford Mondeos of Steve Wyndham and Cyril van der Merwe were struggling through loss of engine power. For the first time this season in a 95 spec Motorplan BMW and showing no side effects from her Cape Town crash, German driver Sabine Reck was setting up some impressive qualifying times. British star Julian Bailey, who has done much of the development work on the Toyota Camrys, was also going well in the Minolta entry. Fresh from an impressive outing at the 24-hour race at Spa-Francorchamps, a rejuvenated Terry Moss was reveling in the advantage of now having a sequential gearbox fitted to the Rothmans Audi Quattro. Super Touring followers have become used to qualifying sessions developing into a battle between the Opel Vectra and BMW Envirocar teams. But Moss was matching times set up by the Opel and BMW drivers, and there were times when the strain was starting to show where the opposition teams were concerned. With qualifying offering the opportunity to strike an early psychological blow, BMW star Dion Joubert withstood all the pressure to upstage everyone and take pole position.
It's my first pole this year. Although, you know, pole isn't everything. I want to win the race tomorrow, and I think that our car is consistent enough to actually do that. So I'm feeling quite confident.
Pole position for Dion Joubert in the BMW Envirocar with, alongside him, championship leader Mike Briggs. Terry Moss in the Rothmans Audi Quattro shared the second row with the BMW of reigning champion Sean van der Linde. The fifth fastest time put Grant McCleary alongside British driver Julian Bailey on the third row of the grid. An impressive performance from Sabine Reck in the Motorplan BMW put the German girl on the fourth row with Steve Wyndham. With Nick de Waal in the BP Nissan Sentra and Cyril van der Merwe in the second Sassel Ford completing the top 10. Stay tuned for more AA Fleetcare Super Touring Championship action. The 5-second board is up for round 17 of the AA Fleetcare Super Touring Championship. The green light is on and Terry Moss has fluffed the start in the Rothmans Audi Quattro. Julian Bailey dives for a gap with Grant McCleary, balked by Moss, and Nick de Waal has come flying through on the inside of the BP Nissan Sentra. Into Potter's Pass for the first time, and Dion Joubert leads Sean van der Linde with Mike Briggs third. Julian Bailey is fourth with Nick de Waal in the Nissan Sentra up to fifth from ninth on the grid as the leaders head for the rifle range sweep at around 240 kilometers an hour. We're in car with Terry Moss and someone's trying to go around the outside of rifle range. Anthony Taylor is off the circuit at a rapid rate of knots. Taylor almost took out a couple of cars behind him, and that is a high-speed accident. Taylor looks to be okay, but it's the end of the road for the Castrol Toyota Camry as Dion Joubert leads teammate Sean van der Linde and Mike Briggs into the S's. This is race cam action from Grant McCleary's Opel Vectra. McCleary was balked at the start by Terry Moss, and from the second row of the grid is down in 8th place. McCleary and Dion Joubert are fighting for second place in the championship, and this is bad news for the Opel driver as race leader Joubert leads the charge up the hill to Beacon Bend. The race order is unchanged, with the two BMW Enviro cars ahead of Mike Briggs and Julian Bailey. Nick de Waal is 5th in the Sassel Ford Mondeos of Steve Wyndham and Cyril van der Merwe, 6th and 7th at the end of lap 1. Down through the gears, these cars will be building up to speeds of around 225 kilometers an hour as they approach Potter's Pass. Julian Bailey was saying earlier that it's a real challenge to take Potter's flat in 6th gear. Potter's and Rifle Range, where Anthony Taylor went off in the Castrol Toyota Camry, are probably two of the most daunting corners in South African motor racing. And you don't want to go off at either. Just ask Anthony Taylor. The Camry is still parked on the inside of Cocobana Corner, and Taylor almost found himself on the beach straight. Dion Joubert still leads van der Linde and Briggs, and are these terrific action shots from the race cam mounted on the side of Sean van der Linde's BMW Envirocar. Van der Linde is the reigning Super Touring champion, but Mike Briggs needs only a 4th place in this race to wrap up the 1995 AA Fleetcare Championship. Through the sweep and up the hill towards Beacon comes race leader Dion Joubert. Teammate Van der Linde is riding shotgun in 2nd place as he moves over to take an inside line for Beacon. Now, is that a blocking maneuver, or does Sean Van der Linde have a problem in the BMW? Mike Briggs is through into 2nd place in the Oval Vectra, and Julian Bailey has gone a long past Van der Linde. Van der Linde is slowing down as the rest of the field comes streaming down the start-finish straight, and it looks as though Sean Van der Linde's race is over. The reigning champion was running a strong 2nd, but is going to park the car, and unless something dramatic happens to Mike Briggs, Van der Linde is going to be the ex-Super Touring champion after this race. Dion Joubert still leads for the BMW Envirocar team, but championship leader Mike Briggs is now in 2nd place with Julian Bailey 3rd, and Sean Van der Linde is not a happy young man. The body language said it all as we go in car with Grant McCleary, who is still stuck behind the Sassel Ford Mondeos of Steve Wyndham and Cyril van der Merwe. McCleary led race leader Joubert by 6 points going into this race, but Dion is on a 9-point haul at this stage of the race, and McCleary hasn't made much headway after being boxed in at the start. Race leader Joubert, Briggs and Bailey have given themselves a little breathing space, but behind them a terrific battle is starting to take shape. Nick de Waal is 4th in the VP Nissan Sentra with the 2 Sassel Fords right on his tail. And Wyndham and van der Merwe have a problem on their hands with McCleary. Janil de Villiers is next up, followed by Marco de Santos in the Scanmo VW Vento. There's smoke from the right front tyre of the leading BMW as Joubert went through Beacon Bend, and that will be a worry for Joubert and the BMW team. We're coming up to the halfway mark in round 17 of the AA Fleetcare Super Touring Championship. And Sabina Reck has a problem in the Motorplan BMW. That looks terminal. Back to race come action with Grant McCleary in the 2nd Oval Vectra, and he is still running behind the 2 Sassel Ford Mondeos. McCleary will be starting to get a little frustrated. Joubert is still on a 9-point haul, and McCleary needs to start moving up the race order. Joubert leads Briggs at Cocobana Corner, and once again there's smoke from the BMW under braking. There could be some bodywork rubbing on the tyres, and that won't be good news for Joubert late in the race. 2 BMWs are already out of the running, and Sabina Reck has parked the Motorplan car at the end of the pit lane.
And I even closed the door, there was no way to brake for me, and I escaped it.
Good weather and a great crowd here in East London, and this is the battle at the front of Class B, with Leon Marie leading Duncan Foss and the championship leader Kersey Swanepoel in the BMW. Foss has won 5 races in a row in the Accord Nissan Sentra to move within a couple of points of Swanepoel in the championship. Right now, it's Leon Marie who has the upper hand in the Bankfin Toyota Sprinter. Marie is a former jet fighter pilot who is now an airline captain, and he also has a win to his name in this year's AA Fleetcare Championship. Leon Marie made his debut in the Super Touring Series midway through the season, so he isn't a threat in the championship. That's between Duncan Foss and Kersey Swanepoel, and tremendous late session form has seen Foss gradually close a big gap that Swanepoel built up in the early races. The halfway mark with Joubert, Briggs, Bailey, McCleary and de Waal running in the top 5. That means McCleary has finally got past the Sassel Ford Mondeos and de Waal, with Terry Moss also starting to work his way through the field. Grant McCleary now has Julian Bailey's Minolta Toyota Camry ahead of him. The Opel driver has moved up 3 places, but it means he's still losing ground to race leader Dion Joubert in the fight for who finishes 2nd in the championship. McCleary's teammate Mike Briggs is lying 2nd, and that will be enough to give him the championship, but East London's GP circuit hasn't always been kind to the Opel pair. Julian Bailey is 3rd in the Minolta Camry, but there's a train of cars queuing up behind the Toyota with McCleary, de Waal, Wyndham, van der Merwe and Moss all in a high-speed train. Along the beach straight, and McCleary is challenging Bailey on the outside of the S's. There's a slower car up ahead, and this could be fun. Bailey has the inside line. McCleary is forced to tuck in behind the Camry. Nico van Rensburg in the Class B BMW does the sensible thing and moves out of the way as Bailey leads the gaggle of cars into Cox Corner. And this is terrific action from the race cam facing towards the rear of Bailey's Minolta Toyota. Great race cam shots up the hill towards Beacon, and McCleary could have a go on the inside as Bailey takes a defensive line. Nick de Waal is also challenging on the outside. McCleary is through into 3rd place, and it looked as though Bailey and de Waal touched under braking at Beacon. Both the Sassel Ford Mondeos, Terry Moss's Audi Quattro and teammate Janil de Villiers have moved ahead of Nick de Waal. At the front of the field, Dion Joubert still leads in the BMW Enviro car, but Mike Briggs is edging closer and closer in the Opel Vectra. The two front runners have opened up a big gap for the rest of the field, and now it's Terry Moss who's starting to attack Steve Wyndham in the Cecil Ford Mondeo and the Julian Bailey Minolta Camry. The Rothmans Audi is alongside Steve Wyndham under braking for Cocobana, and the Audi has gone very wide. Moss may have missed a gear, or there was a little contact there, and Steve Wyndham has squeezed out Terry Moss, who shows his displeasure with an angry wave of the hand. Now it's Wyndham who is chasing after Julian Bailey. The Minolta Toyota Camry is fourth, Wyndham fifth, Moss is sixth in the Audi, and being chased by Cyril van der Merwe in the second Cecil Ford Mondeo. Chanil de Villiers is holding on for a brave eighth after the Nissan mechanics worked through the night to get his BP Nissan Sentra onto the grid after another off at Potter's Pass for the talented young Cape Toadian. Back to the Class B battle, and there's been a change in the leaderboard. Duncan Foss has moved ahead of Liam Marie, with the pair fighting out a monumental battle throughout this race. Race distance is running out, and the pair are still at it. Championship leader Kersey Swanepoel running into some kind of mechanical problem, and Hein Lautigan is second in the motor-built VW Jetta, as Terry Moss brings the Rothmans Audi Quattro into the pits with 1 lap to go. This is the last lap, and Julian Bailey in the Minolta Camry is coming under late pressure from Steve Wyndham's Cecil Ford Mondeo. There's also late pressure for race leader Dion Joubert in the BMW Enviro car. Championship leader Mike Briggs has moved right onto Joubert's tail, and we could be in for a grandstand finish. Briggs also has a decision to make. He would dearly love to win this race, but second place will give him the championship. Does he risk a do-or-die effort, or does he settle for second? Up ahead, the race leaders also have Voss, Marie and Swanepoel, who is a long way back on the road. Voss and Marie are fighting for Class B honours, and this is a situation fraught with danger. The Class B cars have gone wide of Beacon as Joubert locks up the brakes. Can Briggs find a way past the BMW on the dash to the line? Joubert has held it all together, and Dion Joubert wins from Mike Briggs, much to the delight of the BMW pits. Dion Joubert takes his fourth win of the season ahead of new champion Mike Briggs, with Grant McCleary third and Julian Bailey fourth. Steve Wyndham and Cyril van der Merwe are also in the points, with Class B honours going to Duncan Foss ahead of Liam Marie, Hein Lautigan and Nico van Rensburg. The traditional bubbly, with race winner Dion Joubert winning a battle and Mike Briggs the AA Fleetcare Super Touring War.
But I must say congratulations to Michael for finally winning the championship. I mean, we were all starting to get a bit worried, you know. Anyway, well done to Michael, and thank you for it. Was a good race.
Michael, champion at last.
At last, you know, it's taken so long to get here. And ironically, it was here last year in East London that we lost the number one. And I suppose it's just the right thing to do, to come back to East London and finally take it back. It was a difficult race because I was tempted to challenge for the lead, but I guess Dion's a little bit too clever for that, and you know, I had the championship at stake and I couldn't risk any offs. So I'm just so pleased to have finally wrapped up the championship. I can go back to enjoying my races now.
The AA Fleetcare Super Touring Championship action continues.